day, I recollect an event that happened 52 years back, this Teachers' Day, friends. I'll hardly take half a minute for that, or maximum 1 minute, before I come to the topic with my presentation. I was a student of Standard 10 in my village school, and I took up the role of headmaster and occupied headmaster's chair this Teachers' Day. I had the joy of touching the telephone instrument for the first time in headmaster's cabin, because that was the only telephone line in my village that day. Then I also took up the role of mathematics teachers as the headmaster of the school and taught maths to 11 standard students, that is a higher class to mine, that of mine. It was immense joy to teach my seniors of higher class students. I cherish that event even today, and I do recollect on this pious day. Friends, today's topic is extremely important, and I have prepared a well-detailed presentation, and I will go along with the presentation by sharing the screen. I'll share the screen with you. Yeah. I'll say for a start for that. Our topic today is maintenance charges, GST and exempt services in cooperative housing societies. What do I learn today? I intend to address these topics, the maintenance charges that may be collected in a cooperative housing and premises societies, scope of decision to levy charges, that is whether general body can decide or the committee can decide. Then the liability of cooperative housing and premises societies under GST law, which includes exemption from goods and service tax to the members of cooperative housing societies, and the benefit of set-off or input tax credit that may be taken by the cooperative housing society that keeps the tax impact at the minimum. Friends, coming to the topic directly, I will first tell you the structure as to how the maintenance charges are decided and how those are levied, and what is the authority to levy the charges from the members. Because this is normally the topic of hot debate, discussion, and disputes. People run to the court, run to the registrar with complaints which are misplaced sometimes, and therefore I think it is better that we look into the basic aspect. Now there are three aspects to it. The heading for collecting contribution from members are decided by the bylaws. There are 17 headings, and the last heading of that is any other charges. I'll come to individual heading and their impact and the authority and all these things later on in the later part of my presentation. Then the nature of expenses which are to be collected. Now, out of that list of 17, one of the heading is service charges, which is one of the heading listed for collecting contribution from member. And friend, the service charges are to be collected equally from all the members, that is all the flats, irrespective of the size of the flat. And the next important bylaw, there are primarily three bylaws, 65, 66, 67. The last one is, it gives an appropriation amongst the members of various headings which are there, part of bylaw numbers. These 17 headings, every heading is dealt with by this particular bylaw number 67, where it is mentioned as to which collection will be in which ratio, which proportion, which manner. However, for ease of understanding, I have divided this entire collection or contribution in two parts. The collection toward expenses which the society is incurring, and the collection toward establishment of funds. We know we need to establish funds for our future strength, financial strength, and therefore our collection includes two types of expenses and the fund. I can further analyze this based on the manner and the nature of contribution. Now, some of the expenses or the collections is equally irrespective of the size of the flat. Some of them are in the ratio of the area of the flat. Some are a fixed percentage basis. Some are case to case depending upon the resolution of the society. Some are based on certain rules, statutory. And the charges also depend on use of infrastructure of the society by the members. As such, as we know, we understand what can be collected, how much can be collected, and who decides about nature of collection. I have presented it in such a way that we understand and go to the root of the entire gamut of charging the tax, charging the contribution, collecting the contribution from the members. I will now explain the collection of contribution from members in the light of discussion we just had. The table given here under includes all the aspects which I explain entry-wise and very much in detail. Please note down your queries relating to any topic to which I will reply during the question answer time after completion of this presentation. To start with, the 17 headings, which are part of bylaw number 65, are A to Q. One of them is property tax. Now, in the bill, maintenance bill, we have to collect it under the heading property taxes. Friends, as we know, nowadays the local authorities at the BMC or MCGM, we call it, has started issuing the individual bill to the flat owners. So those societies where there are individual flat owners are getting the bill directly from the MCGM, the society will not collect from the members. Otherwise, the society will collect from the member and it will form part of the maintenance bill of the society. Now, what is the quantum of property tax that we collect? You may have experienced, you may have heard, it may have happened to your society itself that many a times the society charge on the basis of the area of the flat. Then let me tell you, the property tax cannot be charged on the basis of the area. It has to be compulsorily charged as per the assessment of every flat that may have been done by the local authority. There can be dispute, there can be two flats side by side, equal size, everything is same. Even then the property tax may be different because the local authority has added 5 square feet less or more to the next flat, the neighbor's flat. And that results into dispute also. But then let me tell you, if you are in the management of the society, these disputes of quantification of the property tax is not within the domain of the cooperative housing society and its management. And the member himself is rather having a right and competent to contact the local authorities. The next heading, water charges. Now, water charges, friends, are to be collected under that same heading of water charges. But as we know, water charges primarily comes from the municipal authorities. And the municipal authority water charges are of the nature of tax as well as the charges. And these are zero rated as far as the GST is concerned. And how do we charge to the members? The bylaw says that the water charges are to be collected in the ratio of inlets in the flat. Say, for example, in 1-bedroom flat, there can be 2 inlets, 1 bathroom and 1 kitchen. In 2-bedroom case, it can be 3. Likewise, all the inlets of the entire building are to be sum up, divide entire water charges by that number of inlets. You will get the charges per inlet per annum, that is to be divided by 12 and to be charged to every member to be multiplied by number of inlets in a flat. There is no doubt, there is no confusion about this. But I have seen, even you may have seen that many societies charge equally. Many societies say that you have more members who will charge you more. Nothing of the sort can be done. It has to be charged necessarily on the basis of the inlets. Friend, the most important in my understanding is the common electricity charges, which is under clause C of the important bylaw number 65. Now, common electricity charges are those electricity charges when the society is provided power by the power supplying company, Tata, Reliance, or Adani, whatever is there. And with that power, the society provides the services of lighting the passages, lighting the parking area, lighting the gardens, lighting all the common areas. And therefore, as per the bylaws, common electricity charges are necessarily the part of service charges which are to be collected equally from all the members irrespective of the size of the flat. There is very important element in this regard. When I come to GST, I will deal with in detail. I have in fact devoted the entire slide to this because there is a lot of confusion and a lot of misunderstanding about collecting the electricity charges to save the GST. It is a totally misplaced, misunderstood action of the society. The next is the repairs and maintenance fund. Now, friend, repair and maintenance fund is for repair and maintenance of the building. And your bylaw, specifically, the entire one bylaw is devoted to this, clause A of bylaw number 13. Now, there is a minimum charge of 0.75% of the cost of construction per annum to be collected at a minimum. But the general body has a power to collect and decide to collect more than that, but not less than that. Now, how do we use this repairs and maintenance fund contribution? This contribution, this fund is to be used for repair and maintenance, day-to-day repair maintenance of the building and the assets and the properties of the society. Now, how do we account for? I have in mind to keep the accounting topic one day because it includes a lot of things, audit, accounts. But for the time being, let me tell you that whatever excess collection we have is to be added to repairs and maintenance for reserve at the end of the year. And if the society has invested that money separately in the fixed deposit, then the interest accruing on those fixed deposits should also be added to the fund at the end of the year by finalizing the accounts. Coming to next topic, expenses on repair and maintenance of the lift of society, including charges for running the lift. Many a times in the same building, there is a shopping area and the shopkeeper do not use the lift. In the same building, there can be the ground floor flat, they never use the lift. However, let me tell you, it is crystal clear, it is very clear, there is no doubt that everyone, including the shopkeepers, office keepers, as well as the ground floor people, irrespective of whether they use the lift or not, they have to equally share the expenses on repairs, maintenance, including the running lift. If you have the lift operator, then his salary and his expenses are also to be shared equally by all the members of the society, irrespective of whether they use the lift or not. This is also the bone of contention and matter of disputes in many societies. The next most important, initially I told you that some of the expenses, some collections refers to the expenses, some refers to the fund of the future fund of the society. Sinking fund is one of them. It is a statutory fund. Society cannot avoid it. The contribution to the sinking fund has to be taken from all the members, and the minimum prescribed rate is 0.25% per annum of the cost of construction of the flat. Friends, general body has a power to increase it, but it cannot be less than 0.25% per annum. The amount will be worked out for all the 12 months to be divided by 12 and multiplied by the periodicity of the billing of the society. And now the most important part, which initially I referred to while discussing common electricity charges. The service charges is one of the important heading, and entire bylaws 66, the next bylaws after 65 is devoted to service charges. And I said previously, the service charges are to be necessarily charged, levied, and collected equally from all the flats, irrespective of their size. And what is the nature of these charges, friends? If you refer to the bylaws 66, the charges are maintenance of the office, stationery, legal fees, accounting charges, employee salary. By nature itself, we can say that these are the charges which naturally goes equal to all the members. Salary of the staff, the property tax of the office, the water charges of the office, electricity charges of the office cannot be taken in the ratio of the area. And therefore, the bylaws have rightly devoted the entire bylaw number 66 to this. It has got about 13 to 14 entries. And then one of the entries, the last entry is the residuary entry, which says any other charges that may be decided by the general body. I'll come to that heading at the end of the maintenance charges slides before I come to GST. The next heading is car parking charges. Now the bylaws of the society 78 to 85 of the bylaws, present as well as the 2001 bylaws, 2009 bylaws, as well as the present one, 2014 one, have bylaw number 78 to 85, which deal with car parking charges. In spite of the entire bunch of 78 to 85 bylaws, the latest amendment says that every society has to formulate rules and regulations for car parking charges, and that has to be done in the general body. This compulsion of having formulating car parking charges was not there in the previous bylaws of 2001, prior to that, as well as 2009 bylaws. Again, while formulating the bylaws for car parking, the society has to see that it does not exceed or go beyond what is provided into 78 to 85. But a good drafting of the rules and regulations for car parking will go a long way in helping the committee charge car parking charges, allot the car parking to the members who do not have the car parking, who are using the society's car parking. And a proper drafting of these particular rules and regulations, friends, will go a long way in meeting the disputes between the members. So it is very, very important. The next heading is interest on defaulted dues. Now here there is a history, and as of today also, friends, not among the committee member, not among the members of the society, but among the professors also, there is a difference of opinion, which, as I interpret it, is totally misplaced. I will tell you very clearly, without any confusion, ambiguity, as to how the particular head, interest on defaulted dues, has evolved right from 2001 to 2009 to 2014. in the previous bylaws. In fact, as far as the interest on defaulted dues are concerned, I had devoted specific slide. But here, cursorily, I will say that as of today, the provision is society can charge 21% per annum or lesser rate as per the general body resolution. The details of the history or evolution of this particular head of charging, I'll come later on. I have a special slide, as I told you just now. Another thing, another heading is repayment of installments of loan and interest. There may be some societies, they may have taken the loan, particularly now under the redevelopment, the self-development, the chances or the importance of this heading increases. But if the society has taken some loan for construction of the building or buying the property, then that contribution has to be taken, and that working out will be the flat wise, the area wise. Another most important heading, again, around which there are many disputes and differences, whether to charge, not to charge, whether society can let go, नहीं charge करेंगे तो चलेगा. All these questions arise in case of non-occupancy charges. Friend, there is a special bylaw devoted to it, bylaw number 43, clause C. There are the circular issued by the department, which has capped the maximum at the rate of 10% of the service charges. Now, friend, these service charges are the service charges which I referred to you previously in the previous slide. Service charges are 65G service charges. It is that service charge, और उसका 10% maximum लेना है. The capping is that. And let me tell you very clearly, the managing committee does not have the option not to charge. If the flat is eligible to be charged to non-occupancy charges in terms of bylaws 43 clause C, which has one or two exceptions. I'll tell you what are these exceptions. One exception is if the family member has been allowed to stay as a caretaker or as a live-in license, or is occupying the flat of a member, then the non-occupancy charges are not to be levied. One more additional exception is if a flat is already sold or transferred by a member. However, the transfer proceedings are pending in the society. The application for transfer of share is pending with the society. Then in that case also, the person who occupies the flat on completion of the transaction of sale by the outgoing member is the owner of the flat, and therefore the question of non-occupancy charges does not arise. And therefore these are the two exceptions, the relatives and the flat buyer who occupies the flat. So in summary, again, in nutshell, there is no option with the committee not to charge. It cannot be charged when occupied by the relative or the family member. Now, relative and family members have been defined under bylaw number 3, clause 25. It includes about 10 to 12 categories. And when those members of the family occupy the flat as a caretaker or as a licensee, the society cannot charge. Another most important heading, friends, is the insurance charges. Now, as far as the insurance charges are concerned, as we know, generally cooperative housing societies rates are standard depending on the nature of insurance. Now it is compulsory to go for the committee or the society has to take the insurance for fire, flood, earthquake, and terrorism. All the four are compulsory. But there can be additional issues. So for example, somebody is doing the business and he's storing certain material at his home. This material is meant for his business. And when the insurance agent comes, insurance officer comes, underwriting agent comes to assess the chargeability, the quantification of the premium, they come to know that in a particular flat, there are the combustible material and blah, 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 which are subject to additional insurance premium, which is going to be charged by the underwriter. Then in that case, friend, that additional part of the insurance premium is to be collected from that particular flat owner only. Otherwise, the insurance charges are to be collected in the ratio of the area of his flat, the built up area ratio of the flat. So I'll repeat, the insurance charges are to be collected in the ratio of built up area of the flats. And the only exception is if there is an additional premium being charged by the insurance company for the reason that a particular flat is having a combustible material, they are storing the combustible material which is dangerous, and in that case, that differential additional premium that insurance company charge has to be collected from that flat owner. So this is about the insurance charges. In this entire series, this is the last slide as far as the maintenance charge headings are concerned. 17 headings as I told you initially, included in bylaw number 65, that is A to Q. Lease rent is the next. If the land is a leasehold land, then the society must be paying the lease rent that is to be collected by way of contribution from all the flat owners in the ratio of built up area of each flat. There is nothing much to discuss as far as that is concerned. The most neglected head of contribution is non-agricultural tax. As you know, the Mumbai city was originally, historically, was the agricultural area entire. And all the construction, be it Pedder Road or be it distant suburb, the entire area was agriculture, which has been converted into non-agriculture area, and the revenue department charges non-agricultural tax, the state government tax. And this particular tax is worked out on the basis of the built-up area, and therefore it is to be accordingly collected from all the flat owners in the ratio of built-up area of each flat. Let me rather bring to your notice that if your society does not pay or does not collect the non-agriculture tax, then please bring it to the notice of your committee, either by way of communication to the committee, or you may raise it in the general body. Otherwise, the consequences of non-payment of non-agriculture tax are very huge, which range up to 200% penalty. So please see that your society does take care of this particular head of expenditure. Education and Training Fund is a fund to be required to be created after amendment of the law when the training of the members of the society has been compulsory. Now, under the law, every society is supposed to train their members minimum 20% every year. So in tenure of 5 years of a committee, all the 100% members have to be trained and undergo the training. Now, for this training, the society need to collect 10 rupees per flat per month from all the flats and transfer this to the reserve and surplus under the headings of education and training funds. And as and when the society makes the expenditure by way of training their member, that money is to be brought back from the reserve fund and used for the purpose of payment of the expenses to be incurred for training of the members. Members cannot be separately asked to pay the training expenses of the members because we are already collecting 10 rupees per flat per month. Likewise, another fund is an election fund. As we know, the elections, as per the new rules, up to 250 members, the election is to be there in the general body, special general body, and about 250, it is to be necessarily conducted through this Maharashtra State Cooperative Election Authority. But in case when the members are up to 250 also, there is a provision that the society is supposed to engage the services of professional out of the list that may be maintained by the Divisional Joint Registrar here, Mumbai Division, as per the approval of the State Election Authority. And as and when the elections are held, the expenses are to be incurred out of the election fund. And therefore, the general body has to pass necessary resolution authorizing collection of this fund for the committee to collect it in this maintenance bill. If general body does not take a decision, then the committee will not have a power to collect it. And the last one is, as I told you, residuary, I will name it, any other charge. Now, any other charge, friends, has to be only under the resolution of the general body. Now, what will be covered in any other charges? That the society is free to collect anything and everything under the sky? No. There are two most important principles while passing the resolution for collecting any additional charges. In the bylaws also, for example, in some of the cases like, take the case of major repair, there's a special provision under bylaws 12, 13, 14, which is to be collected in the ratio of the area and all these things. However, I have specially devoted the entire slide at the end of this presentation, where I have dealt with more than 10 headings, which are otherwise not covered by all these 17 headings. And in that case, which may be under any other charge, has to be specifically collected by the committee under the authority of the resolution of the general body. Without general body resolution, no any other charge can be collected by the managing committee. Now, as I told you, I had devoted, there are 3 topics, some specific charges, slide 1, and there is another slide 2, common electricity charges and any other charges. I told you during my presentation that I am going to deal with these issues because these are very important. To start with, interest on defaulted dues. Now, as per the current bylaws, 2014, as I said, under the heading interest, that it is to be collected minimum at the rate of 21%, subject to the condition that if general body wants, it can reduce the rate of interest. But by default, it is to be charged at the rate of 21%. Now, why do we need the entire slide for this, friends? The reason is the historical aspect of the wording. Bylaw 72 of 2001 bylaws and bylaw number 71 of 2009 bylaws. Friends, both these bylaws, I have given the text of the bylaws in my presentation. Have a look at it. A member shall be required to pay simple interest at such rate as is fixed by the general body of the society. That means up to the new bylaws, which came into effect from 2014 till that time, it was necessary for the general body of the society to decide as to whether to charge an interest or not. There is no doubt about the wording and the interpretation of this, that, I'll repeat, up to the present bylaws came in vogue, 2014, the general body was required to pass a resolution that interest shall be charged on the defaulted dues. The default, to whom to charge, who is eligible, who is liable, all these are part of the act itself. But as far as the interest charging is concerned, there was to be necessity to pass a general body resolution, otherwise the committee cannot charge interest on the defaulted dues. There was one more condition, that while passing the resolution for charging the interest, it has to be subject to maximum 21% per annum on the charges of the society from the date the amount was delayed till its payment not paid by the member within the period as prescribed under Rule 70. I mean, bylaw 70. Bylaw 70 says that the due date and all this thing will be decided by the managing committee, not the general body. And if the member fails to make the payment beyond due date, then from the date it was due to the date the payment was made, the interest to be charged at the rate as may have been decided by the general body. This was the case up to 2014. Now, what happened after 2014? First of all, I'll refer to the text of the present bylaws. A member shall be required to pay simple interest at the rate of 21% per annum. Friends, it is very clear that by default, the interest is to be compulsorily charged at the rate of 21%. There is no mention of general body resolution in this case. And therefore, no general body resolution required for charging the interest and charging the interest at the rate of 21%. So both these are default. Charging of the interest as well as the rate of interest are confirmed. Committee must charge. It has no option not to charge. And the committee has to charge at the rate of 21% only and not less. If the society wants that the interest rate should be less than 21%, then in that case, then the general body has to specifically reduce the rate of interest. One query which remains here, and it will remain forever, and it will depend on the interpretation of the provision, that can the society reduce it to 0%? In my humble opinion, because of the wording that there must be consequences of non-payment of the dues of the society, interest must be charged, unlike the previous provision that the general body has to pass the resolution. And therefore, in my humble opinion, interest has to be there, be it 1% or be it 21%. So if the authority is given to the general body, in my view, general body resolution cannot reduce it to 0%. It has to be some percentage which can be less than 21%. So this is the, as far as the interest is concerned, friends, is a very important provision. Let me tell you, as and when the society proceeds to file recovery proceedings against any member, under the erstwhile provision, we call it 101, and now under 154B29, or in alternate, approaching the cooperative court under section 91 as a matter of dispute for collecting the outstanding dues as a land revenue. These particular provisions are extremely important. Coming to the next specific charges, slide number 2, common electricity charges. Now it is only one line here, allowed to be collected under bylaws 65C, which is included in service charges under bylaws number BL 66L. But it has a lot more to understand in view of the GST, because as we know, electricity charges is not coming within the purview of GST law. As you know, the petroleum product and electricity charges are not within the purview of GST laws. And therefore, if you have seen, you may have experienced that many societies charge electricity charges to the members separately, and that also a very huge amount, with the intention that their total charges will go below 7,500 limit, and therefore they will not be liable to GST. Member will get exemption. But friends, in my opinion, first of all, the society cannot collect by way of reimbursement also electricity charge from the members, because as we know, it's a common sense also that society does not provide electricity when it lightens up the common area of the society. What it provides is the service of lighting the common areas, and lighting the common areas cannot be termed as a electricity provided to the member. It is the lighting of the common areas that is a service provided by the society by purchasing power from electricity company. That is the one thing. And इससे भी आगे, as we have seen, common electricity charges are part of bylaw number 66, which is covered under the service charges, which is to be collected equally from all the members. I have repeatedly presented before you that service charges are to be collected equally from all the members, and common electricity charges are the fees, be it whatever you name it reimbursement or whatever charges, but that is to be necessarily and must be collected under the service charges heading. The society cannot collect in the ratio of the area or by way of reimbursement of electricity charges directly under that heading. If its society is doing that, it is inviting problem for itself. It can be an audit issue or it can be an inquiry under GST laws also. This is in my humble opinion, that electricity charges, please, if your society is collecting from the members electricity charges separately. I have come across many cases, particularly in those buildings after redevelopment, the maintenance increases. And even when the total electricity charges of the society are, say, for example, 2 lakhs rupees for the whole year, I have seen the cases where the society is collecting under the heading electricity charges more than 2 lakhs rupees, much more than 2 lakhs rupees. And what is the idea behind it? The misplaced understanding that they will get out of the clutches of GST provisions. Friends, be careful. It is my warning. Please see that if your society is having this sort of any practice, please advise them to stop that practice. Otherwise, if not today, tomorrow you will face the music. And the last one among the specific charges, slide number 2, is any other charges. Now, any other charges are mentioned in bylaw 65, also the last entry, we call it residuary entry. It is also a part of bylaw number 66, that is the service charges, and it is also bylaw number 67. Now, 67, as we understand by this time, that it gives the idea as to what is to be collected in which manner, right? Now, any other charges, if the general body has the authority to collect, general body can decide that it will collect any other charges, and the decision is that it will be collected equally, then it has to be part of the service charges. And the decision is that it will be collected in any other manner other than equal charges, then it has to be separate under specific heading. And the manner in which the society decides to collect, the manner includes the quantification also. Now, the only one important thing which is there under 66M is any other charge approved by the general body at its meeting can be any other charge. The general body has got the authority, but the condition is, however, such charges should not contradict the provisions of the Act, rules, and the bylaws of the society. So even though the general body has been given free hand, as we know, section 72 of the Act says that the general body is the supreme authority as far as the management of the society is concerned, the fact remains that there is a restriction that such any other charge cannot supersede the specific provisions of Act, rules, and the bylaws of the society. Now I'll come to the residuary. There are headings, the 10 headings I have mentioned in my slide. And these charges are to be collected, in my opinion, by a specific decision of the general body for guidance of the managing committee. Now note that every item of collection of charges included in bylaw 65, that's 17 headings, either it is included in service charges under bylaw number 66, or it is included in bylaw number 67, which specifies the ratio and extent to collect the every charge from the flat. So whatever is totally included under those 17 heading, which includes any other charge, is either part of the service charges to be collected equally from all the members, or if it is not part of the service charge, then it is mentioned in bylaw number 67, which gives the details heading wise as to which is to be collected in which manner. Friends, the list which I have given here, the residuary entry in the form of any other charges can be decided by the general body resolution. Some of the heads of charges are given here under, which are not specifically covered under bylaw 65 or 66, and therefore obviously it is not part of the 67 also. Now, security charges, housekeeping charges, gymnasium charges, sweeper and cleaner charges, firefighting system charges, pest control charges, plumbing, electrician, swimming pool, and community hall. These are some of the very important headings which day in and day out we come across. Friends, please make sure that your society pass a resolution. Now, by passing a resolution, these charges can be collected either equally or in the ratio of the area as can be decided by the general body. But while passing such resolution, please be sensitive to the fact that if you have the huge difference between the smaller flat and the bigger flat, then if you decide these charges on the equal basis, then it is short for creating dispute, because the smaller flat people will say that because these are the main headings under which measure of the expenses of the society has incurred. And if the general body passes a resolution that this should be collected equally from all the members, then it is short for dispute in your society, because the smaller flat will say, हम लोग को इतना charge क्यों, post flat, bigger flat should contribute more, because so while passing this resolution, you must give thought to this particular aspect at the back of your mind and take a rational decision. The decision rational, that means it should not be under the concept of majority versus minority number of members. Make sure that your decision to collect is rational, and as far as possible, if it is in the ratio of the area, then there will not be any question of dispute. So this is as regard the maintenance charges. Now, before I come to the GST, in the next slide, this is the last slide as far as the maintenance is concerned. Here I am drawing your attention as to how the charges will be collected, how the charges will be decided, and then the interest element. And what if the member does not make the payment? So this is the just general slide. I have got about 10 minutes, so I'll be able to deal with much within that time. The first thing is this bylaw 67B. We have seen 67A relates to what is to be collected in which fashion. This requires a committee to fix in respect of every flat the society charges on the base laid down under bylaw number 67A. It is very simple. In most of the societies, the committee does not decide it. In my opinion, an elaborate resolution is required wherein the list of flat, the area, and the manner of charging, and the total charge to be collected from a particular flat must be passed in the managing committee. And as per the decision of the managing committee, the secretary of the society shall prepare a bill or demand notice, we normally call it, in respect of the charges of the society payable by the member on the basis of bylaw number 67A, and issue the same to all the members or not before the date fixed by the committee in their behalf. That means the due date is to be fixed by the committee. That is a prerogative of the committee to fix the due date. And the simple logic and rationale behind giving the power to the committee is that every now and then when that comes a time to extend the date of say in the Corona times, the committees were required to extend the due date of payment because of the difficulties faced by the member. In that case, the society should not be forced to approach the general body, and therefore this power is rightly to be exercised by the committee to decide the due date. Every member of the society shall pay the amount mentioned in the bill or the demand notice in full within such period as may be fixed by the committee. Now, these are two words. It is to be paid in full as per the notice of demand, and is to be paid within the date fixed by the managing committee for last date for making the payment. Many members deduct certain amount which are in dispute in their mind. Friends, my humble request, please do not deduct anything. Your money will be saved in the account of the society. Even though you have any doubt about the committee, you have got a legal right to question, and therefore please do not deduct any amount. You have to make it full payment and within the date. So even if you have a dispute with the society, it is your duty not to avoid payment of the maintenance charges. Now, for some reason or the other, you become defaulter. Friends, Section 73CA of the Act specifies that the member have to make the payment, and if the payment is not made within 3 months of the due date of the bill, then he is labeled as defaulter member, and such defaulter member has to be penalized by way of interest also, and by way of taking action for recovery certificate against such member. However, what is the procedure? The secretary of the society is under obligation to bring it to the notice of the committee if and when there is a defaulter. And therefore, if you have a service provider who makes your billing and accounting, then by way of terms and conditions of the service with such service provider, make sure that he sends a list of defaulter label member. And the list should be, it can be displayed on the notice board. There is nothing to hide about it. Moreover, as a matter of practice, the society should address a communication to every defaulter member along with the bill or demand notice as message. So this is, and if you don't do it, then when the time comes for recovery proceedings, previously it was 101, now it is 154B29, or by way of a dispute in the section 29 in the cooperative code. If you don't follow this procedure, then the member will have a merit by way of an adverse order against the society. Now I'll come to the goods and service tax applicable to cooperative housing societies.
There are some questions. Do you want to address them now, or?
No. I'll hardly take 5 minutes for this. This is the last slide.
Okay, fine.
And after that, we have got almost 30 minutes for answer to the questions of the participants.
Okay, fine.
This presentation was for 60 minutes, and it is there. Liability of cooperative housing and premises society in a GST law. If a society has an annual turnover of receipts of 20 lakhs rupees, it is liable to go for registration under the GST law, and it is liable to comply with the requirements of the law. There is a provision for voluntary registration also, and there are certain exempt services or reimbursement of the taxes. These are part of it. Now, what is that? It will be covered in the next exemption from goods and service tax. So, in case of housing societies only, mind where, not in premises societies. In case of housing societies, if the total bill of a member is up to 7,500 rupees per month, then in that member's case, the GST on third-party services are exempt. That means whatever services the society procures from third party and provides to the members, that particular third-party service GST will not be charged to those members whose total bill per month is up to 7,500 rupees. Now this 7,500 includes only the taxable amount. And therefore, in my view, the property tax and the NA tax is not part of this total. However, in my view, the water charges are part of it because it is not in reality, it is not in the form of tax, but it's the charges per liter. But the water charge heading per se is not taxable because it is zero rated. So it is calculated for the purpose of quantification of 7,500 rupees to determine the liability, but the water charges are not subject to tax really because it is rated at zero rate. Services provided by society are taxable even in exempt members' case. What are these services? Say, we are referring to third-party services. Now, sinking fund, repair fund, parking, non-occupancy, and interest are the services provided by the society. They are not the third-party services. And therefore, even though a member is otherwise exempt under 7,500 limit, that exemption is restricted to the third-party services, and other services which are listed are liable to be taxed in the hands of such members also. To reduce the burden of the taxability, the benefit of set-off or input tax credit is given to the societies. Friends, someday the way I have in mind to go for billing and accounting of the an audit of the society and exclusive lecture for GST also. With these friends, within the time allotted, I have completed this, and now I will address the queries that may be raised by the
Yes, so there is one question from Advocate P.A. Narayanan. Parking space purchased by member directly from builder. Can
yes.
society charge parking charges to such members?
Yeah, I'll come to that. Let me I'll come to that question now. See, the question is, as if the member or the flat purchaser has purchased the flat from the builder. Now, if it is purchased from the builder, then irrespective of the legal position in view of the judgment of the Supreme Court, which we had presentation in the past also, the fact remains that as far as the society is concerned, that member has got a transferable right, and the parking charges can be collected by the society because parking charges are not based on the fact that whether a parking space is owned or not owned by the member. It is based on the maintenance of the parking space. Say flat is owned by you, even then the maintenance charges are collected. You can't say कि flat मेरा ownership का है तो मैं क्यों maintenance दूँ. Likewise, even though you are owner of the parking space, you have to pay the maintenance charges. So I think Mr. Narayan, this is the answer. If there is any offshoot, please come forward.
There was another question from him. Common electricity, security and maintenance charges incurred by builder for maintaining common area of 10 societies. How such charges can be apportioned between societies and consequently upon flat owners?
See, these questions, I will reply on certain presumption that society, if the society registered...
Yeah, he has given some background. He has given some background. No apex body has been formed by the builder or collectively by the societies, by the 10 societies.
If the societies are registered, then when the society is registered, Mr. Narayan, it is the de facto owner of the properties, not legal owner. And therefore, the responsibility of maintenance of the properties are that on the managing committees of the respective societies in the complex. That is one thing. as far as the builder is concerned, under the provisions, when one buys a flat from the builder, the provisions of Maharashtra ownership flats are applicable. And under that provisions, if it is a part of the contract between the flat purchaser and the developer, that certain such amount shall be collected up to a period of 10 months, 12 months, 3 years, 2 years, or till the time the society is registered. Then in that case, it is a matter of contract between the purchaser and the developer. It cannot be, a builder cannot collect maintenance after registration of the society. Even though it is a part of the contract, as I initially said, the first sentence, that the moment society is registered, it becomes a de facto owner of the property. And as per the object clause of the cooperative societies, under the Act as well as your bylaws number 5, it is the responsibility of the society to maintain the building, and therefore it has to collect the charges. So builder cannot continue to charge. If it continues to charge, then it is illegal. But prior to registration of society, gentlemen, whatever is collected by the developer is under the contract with the flat purchaser, and it has to be dealt with separately under the civil law. Yeah, any other query?
There is a question by our own member Mohan Joshi. He's
Yeah.
asking, what is the date for AGM for the last financial year,
Yes.
2020-21?
Yeah, this is a very important query and a hot topic of discussion today at the present time. And if you have seen all the circulars which have been issued by the department, guidelines issued by the department, direction issued under 79A, all relate to 31st March 1920, right? I mean 2020, not 2020, 2020. None of the circular refer to March 21. And therefore, under section 75 of the Act, the last date for holding general body meeting, annual general body meeting is 30th of September 2021. Unless and until the law stands amendment, because the power of extension is not given to the registrar. You know, if you go to the history of amendment of the law a few years back, rather before February 13, the law was that the registrar were having the power कि 14 अगस्त को लास्ट डेट था, 14 अगस्त से 14 नवंबर तक 3 महीने का एक्सटेंशन देने का पावर रजिस्ट्रार के पास था. This power is no more there with the registrar, and the last date for holding the AGM is 30th September. There is no extension as of today. Any other question?
Yes, sir. One more question.
Yeah.
Yeah. When a member fails to pay the society charges for a long time, say 2 years, 3 years, how can we recover?
Yeah. See, as it was there part of my discussion, but not devoted in very much detail because that was not the topic of the day. But let me tell you. As and when a member becomes defaulter, the society has got two options. Option number 1, to approach the registrar for a recovery certificate against the member in favor of the society that the outstanding dues should be recovered as a land revenue. And as we know, the land revenue provisions are very strict. It's a government revenue. And the certificate, once given by the registrar, you have to approach the recovery officer. These recovery officers are like recovery officers under DRT. You know, the banks and all these people are approaching, and the recovery certificate is issued by the DRT and the recovery officer. Then DRT takes charge. Likewise, here in case of housing and premises societies, the provision is that either the society approach the registrar, then it was under section 101, which popularly mentioned, but the correct provision as of today for housing and premises society, rather housing societies, is section 154B29, which replaces 101 in its application for recovery certificate. And another option is approaching the cooperative court under section 91 by way of dispute. These are the two ways. Once both these authority, either this or that, gives a recovery certificate against the member, you have to present this certificate to the recovery officer, which are appointed and sitting in the federation's office on PM Road. And then the ball is in the court of recovery officer. He will carry it further under section 158 of the Act. So this is how the entire provisions for recovery of the defaulted dues.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hirabhai, I have one question.
Yeah.
If I understand correctly, you said there are certain deductions available from the monthly limit of 7,500.
Yeah.
And the category of the deductions is services obtained from other parties.
Third party.
Third party. Could you give examples of that? Would it mean that security services obtained from third party or insurance services are to be deducted? And would there be other examples?
I'll give the example. For all practical purposes, before I answer your query, let me tell you that sinking fund, repair fund, parking charges, interest and non-occupancy charges are the charges which are provided by the society. There are no two views, no two opinion about it. And therefore, irrespective of 7,500 or otherwise, these services which are provided by the society are subject to GST. That is the one aspect which you keep in mind while answering your question. Now your query is, which are the third party services? Say for example, you have a security agency. Now this security agency is charging you GST at a rate of 18%.
You're always together from the Zoom meeting,
Pardon? If your society is paying GST on the security services, which is a third party providing service. So the society is procuring services from the security agency and providing to the member. Now these security services are availed by all the members. However, these being the third party services, all those members who are exempt because of the threshold limit of 7,500 rupees are not required to be charged or should not be charged the GST for these services which are procured by society from third party and collected from the member. So all those third party services, which is directly procured by the society from third party and provided to the member. I'll give another example. You have a gymnasium or a swimming pool. The society does not want to engage his own employees, salaried employees. And therefore, it decides to avail the services of third party for maintaining and provide services to the users of those common facilities. Right? The reason is, in this case, there are two things. The society sometimes will not charge to non-users. But even if the non-user use it, in my view, if his turnover, his limit is below the threshold limit of 7,500 rupees, these being the direct third-party services procured by society and provided to the member, GST will not be collectible from the threshold entitled members. All those members whose turnover, the bill is more than 7,500 rupees will be subjected to GST on all the services, be it provided by the society or provided by the third party. So these are the examples I gave you. But I'll repeat initially. Sinking fund, repair fund, interest, non-occupancy, parking charges are the services which are generally by default provided by the society only. One exception which I have not come across anywhere, but it can be in offering in many post societies, that you have a parking area. It's a big society having 1,000 members and you are parking for 1,200 cars. The society does not engage anyone. It simply hands over this facility to a service provider and says, "Aap sab manage karo." In that case, it will be a third party service. So even though I said that parking charges are provided by society, when the way society goes ahead with charging this kind of thing, getting the services from third party, society bolegi hamara rules regulation hai, will not interfere with parking, will not come in the way of agency. In that case, that is a third party service. And therefore, it will be accordingly exempt in hands of those threshold exempted cases.
There are some more
So
questions on.
taking this question of security charges one step further, sir.
Yeah.
You said third-party services are to be excluded. That is the basic principle.
Yeah.
Is it also necessary that the third party should charge you GST for that? Because if the third party is all within his 20 lakhs threshold limit, he will not charge you GST.
Yeah.
A security agency may not charge me GST.
There is an important that law which governs this aspect is a different law, but I'll tell you what is that. If the person who provides the service is an individual, a proprietary entity, then it is not covered under provisions of compulsory GST. But if the entity which provides the services to the society is non-individual, means it is either the partnership or it's a company, then in that case, it is compulsion for the society to engage the services of those agencies provided they are registered under GST and they are liable to charge you. You got it? So it is up to the society, rather it is the ball game in the court of the society, which has to take care that if they engage the services of a person who is an individual, then it is okay if he doesn't charge. But if they engage the services of a company or a partnership, and that company and partnership are not registered under GST, then in that case, the society will be at fault. So make sure that your society, if engages the services from non-individual, then it must charge the GST. If it is individual, then he may or may not charge depending upon this liability to be registered or otherwise. Okay, Manubhai?
There are some.
Thank you.
There are some more questions. One from Viraj Londe. Whether normal repair and maintenance charges of the building can be paid out of repairs fund.
Yes, that is what is there. That is what is there. Repair and maintenance fund, as I refer, is the minimum contribution has to be 0.075% of the cost of construction of each flat. This fund is exclusively to be used only and only for regular day-to-day repair and maintenance. And friends, let me tell you one more thing when I am on the topic. The power to use, the authority to use this particular fund is rests with the managing committee. Let me repeat. The authority to use this particular fund for day-to-day repair and maintenance rests with the managing committee, and the committee need not rush to the general body unless the general body has passed some specific resolution, like अगर committee a particular amount से ज्यादा खर्चा करना चाहती है तो they have to come to us. ऐसा resolution है तो then it's a restriction imposed by the general body on the society. Otherwise, as per the bylaws, the repair and maintenance fund contribution is meant for day-to-day repair and maintenance of the building and the properties of the society. And as I said in my presentation, if there is any excess collection, then it has to be transferred at the end of the year while finalizing the account to the repair and maintenance reserve. And if the society has invested that particular reserve amount in a separate investment, then the income out of that fund is also to be necessarily credited to the fund only. And in the subsequent period, if the expenditure of maintenance of the building, repair and all these things is more than what is collected during that year, then the committee can write back that amount from that fund and use it for the purpose of repair and maintenance. For that also, particularly for this repair and maintenance fund, there is no need to rush to the general body. Yeah, any further query?
Yeah, there is one more question by Fatima Butwala.
Yeah.
If a society has commercial as well as residential property, what is the ratio of charges? Is it different as per the use of the property?
See, this particular question relates to the, that is a generally, we say the shoppers are in minority by and large. rational, logically, because builder normally, if it is totally shopping, then it will be premises society, right? Not necessary, but mostly. In this case, the shoppers are by and large in minority, और majority वाले जो residents वाले हैं वो disproportionately charge करते हैं. But I'll tell you in one sentence, the bylaws are not different for commercial and residential. It is same bylaws. अगर पान वाले का दुकान 100 फीट का है और पेंट हाउस 3500 फीट का है, तो सर्विस चार्जेस दोनों को इक्वल लगेगा. सर्विस चार्जेस रिफर टू अंडर bylaw number 66. Any other charges will be in the ratio either specified in bylaw number 67 or as may have been decided by the general body under the heading any other charges. जो मैंने 10 का लिस्ट दिया है ना, उसमें से unfortunately if the society general body has decided कि नहीं ये भी हम एरिया के रेशियो में नहीं लेंगे लेकिन इक्वल लेंगे, तो it is short dispute. So this is the answer to your query, Fatima ji.
There is one more question by Mr. Viraj Londe. Whether sinking fund, electricity and water charges collected forms part of the 20 lakhs limit set under GST.
Yes, it is a part of the taxable amount and it is part of the turnover to be calculated. What is excluded is the property tax and the NA tax. We do not form part of the turnover for the purpose of arriving at a limit for threshold limit for taxability or exemption, whatever which I have referred to in. So the answer is property tax and NA tax are the only amount which are excluded while deciding the turnover. But you are talking about the liability. What the query is about the liability for registration of the society?
No. It was whether the sinking fund, electricity and water charges collected forms part of the 20 lakhs.
It is form part of the turnover for the purpose of that limit. Yeah.
Okay. I had one question for you from my end.
Yeah.
Suppose a society regularly doesn't fall under GST, so they have not taken the GST. But now they want to do major repairs, like structural repairs, and they need funds, so they will have to collect funds.
Yes.
Then, and that limit goes about 20 lakhs. Say they have 50 lakhs expense and they have to collect. So, will the society have to, register for GST, and then after that, can they deregister?
Deregistration is possible, very much possible. See, there are the provisions for registration based on the turnover. Then the second entry, which I have listed in my classification, initial second slide, I think, second or third slide, is voluntary registration. So even if the society is not liable otherwise because of the turnover limit, it has got an option to go for voluntary registration and it can ask for the deregistration also. However, if deregistration has taken place in the month of August, for example, and if the turnover exceeds after that, and that turnover has to be calculated from April, then in that case, the society will be liable right from day one, irrespective of the deregistration. So this is the answer to your question.
Okay, thank you. I think we are done with all the questions in the chat window. Anybody else have any other questions?
Okay, thank you, friends.
I don't think so. So,
thank you for your presentation. Yeah, please feel free to write to me. I think I have given my contact details. If you want, I can write in the chat box right now. So feel free to, I'll just mention 9322274969 and my email ID is info@hmsuthar.com. Okay, friends.
Thank you, Hiralji. I would like to give a vote of
thank you.
thanks. Thank you very much for this wonderful seminar. It was a very nice information that you have presented in a excellent tabular format. If you can share your presentation,
I will
that
share.
would be great.
I'll share that PowerPoint
and
presentation.
And thank you for continuing this series. I think it's a great opportunity for the layman to understand more about the housing laws. So, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for attending this seminar.
Bye, everyone.